Those of you who are familiar with the game of petanque know that there's basically two ways to throw. One, pointing, where you try to get close to the target ball. The other way is shooting, where you try to shoot away an opponent's ball. Shooting is not easy. One way to practice is to set up some balls and just throw at them, like so. I need to practice a lot. But going down to the other end of the terrain and collecting the balls every time, turning around, coming back, shooting the other direction, it's just too much work for me. So what I decided to do is make a machine that would deliver the balls back to me after I throw them down one direction. So I didn't want the machine to take up valuable space on the terrain. It had to be easy to assemble and disassemble so I could put it away when I was not using it. The whole thing is made with relatively common materials, 2x4s and plywood. The flooring, rubber flooring material you would find in a gym. These long pieces are made of angle iron. They're about 10 feet long. You'd have to go to a specialty metal supply store to get those. And this last piece here is PVC, a piece of PVC pipe that's been cut in half. That was intended to be the main channel. But it turns out that any little piece of gravel that gets stuck in there will keep the balls from rolling. Of course, if you're in Texas, it's hot, you need to stay hydrated. So here's a view of the Boule-O-Matic 3000 in action. Of course, I'm making a great effort to deliberately miss these balls so many times in a row. But here you can see how the balls fall into the collector and then use that energy from the height they've attained to roll back to where I threw them. Here's a shot from the very end. You can get a good view of the collector tray. That's also a piece of angle iron, just like the long rails that the balls roll on when they go back to the throwing position. It's not super speedy, but by the time you throw about 5 or 6 balls, you've already got more balls to throw, so you never really have to wait for the balls to be returned. I had to make a few adjustments when I assembled this thing because it didn't work perfectly right off the bat. And one of the ways that I was able to see what was going on was to view the action in slow motion. This might seem kind of boring, but I find it kind of mesmerizing watching how these things bounce around. So here's a view from the other angle, the other end of the collection trough. This is the low end, and you can see that they roll down toward the camera and then take off on their trip back to the throwing area See the plywood underneath the mat where the balls hit, it's deliberately thin so it can absorb a certain amount of the energy. This the upper backboard is at an angle. Makes all the difference. They used to just pop right out of the machine, but now they stay in. You can see the angle iron has been painted white, and you might notice some black stripes on the top edges, and that is just vinyl electrical tape. And the reason it's there is because as the balls roll down the rail, they used to make a really loud, annoying sound, but with the electrical tape, it's practically silent. So here you can see the big payoff, the full cycle of throwing the balls. They get collected and they roll back and they end up right at your feet. That ring that I'm standing in is 8 meters from the target balls. By adjusting that weight, that blue weight you see in the trough, you can have the ball stop wherever you want. The machine basically works the same if you're throwing, at 6 meters or at 10 meters. I tend to practice around 8 meters or so. And you can see I have 6 balls that I use normally. By the time I throw all 6 of them, I usually have most of them returned back to my feet and ready to go. So I hope you like this, and happy petanquing.